Welcome to Nevertheless, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your essence and live powerful.
Hi guys, welcome to Nevertheless, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. How are you? It's a great Friday morning here in Lagos. It rained through the night, so the weather is slightly cooler than it used to be, and we are grateful for that weather. How are you feeling? What's your life been like? How many steps more have you taken in the evolution of your small? We are taking baby steps, but steps nevertheless. I have good news today. Our Dukia Radio app went live in the Google Play Store. So one more step towards launch dates, and we're grateful to God for all that He's doing here and helping us to achieve. So if you are looking forward to Dukia Radio, a few people have specifically sent me mails directly to say, well done, congratulations, we look forward to the launch of Dukia Radio. Thank you so much. I want to especially give a shout out to my sister in the US, Yetunde. God bless you for your email. Keep it small and keep it going, and it is bound to grow. So, what will we be talking about today? Last week we looked at the evolution of small, and I like the fact that most people have said that it was useful to them, especially in starting out and deciding what was worth starting on. So, today we are going to move on from the evolution of small to something else, and I'll tell you what that is when I come back.
Introducing Dukia Radio, a new online purpose and leadership talk radio for the family. Follow us on Twitter at Dukia Radio and like our Facebook page, Dukia Radio. Dukia Radio, giving life full expression. Coming soon.
Welcome back. It's still the Nevertheless show. And like I said, we've moved on from the evolution of small into something else. Today we'll be talking about the law of surround. Yes, you heard me. The law of surround. What does the law of surround mean? On how many planes or levels can we deploy the law of surround? How has the law of surround helped me personally in my walk towards purpose? And how can you deploy the law of surround to aid you in the things that you are doing? But before we go into today's issue or today's focus or today's topic, I'd like to talk to you again and remind you about Purpose University, that we're still working and we're coming. Things are heating up, and I think we just released a video today encouraging you to be part of that university. However, we also have something coming up from next week, and it is a Twitter campaign, #AskBMM. #AskBMM is a simple campaign encouraging people to send in their purpose questions. That is, any question that is related to purpose you may have. You can just send it to us on Twitter using the #AskBMM and tagging my handle @Bidemi Mark-Mordi. You can be sure that we will send to you a response, something specific to your issue, so that you can continue to walk towards your purpose. This campaign has become necessary because we are trying to broaden the horizon for our followers. We want to not just come to you with a purpose university that assumes that we know what you need to know about purpose. Rather, it's coming to you from the angle of what specifically do you need, so that we can give you a university that is tailored to meet your needs. So please follow me on Twitter @Bidemi Mark-Mordi use the hashtag AskBMM and send your questions in. And within 24 hours, you can be sure that we will send your answer right back to you. So, on to today's show. I said we're looking at the law of surround. But what does the law of surround mean? I'll tell you that when I come back shortly.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA, Destiny Navigational Application, is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmodi.com to place your order now.
It's still the Nevertheless show. The law of surround, what does it mean? Truth of the matter is I have actually done a search on what the law of surround means, and I don't know whether I should say unfortunately or I should say fortunately, or I haven't been able to find any law called the law of surround. So it is safe to say here, and please note copyright issues, the law of surround is a law by BMM. Okay, now that I've said that, what do I mean by the law of surround? By the law of surround, I'm talking about the environment in which you thrive, the kind of environment you ought to be in so that your dream will thrive. Now, when I talk about the environment, you want to think maybe I mean a physical environment alone. No, a physical environment is just one way to surround yourself, to one aspect of the law of surround to determine how, what your physical environment is like if you would deliver on the things that God has called you to do. But beyond a physical environment, there is a spiritual surround that you require if you will do the things that God has called you to do. Because whether you like it or not, recently at the discipleship class, we studied the story of Joseph in Genesis 37. And we found out that the first set of people who could not handle what Joseph was bringing forth were his immediate family members. They couldn't handle it. So imagine that Joseph did not have the right spiritual surround. He probably would have given up when they asked him to give up, or when they pushed him out of the house and sold him into slavery. So again, what is the law of surround? The law of surround is the right spiritual, physical, relational, and mental environment in which you can pursue after your dream and deliver on your goals and objectives. I'll take that once again. The law of surround is finding the right spiritual, physical, relational, and mental environment in which you can pursue and achieve your dreams and your set goals. So what is a spiritual surround like? The first thing I'd like to say is take you back to when I started out. Of course, because you listen to the evolution of small, you now know that everything that I do today started from Effectual magazine as a newsletter. I remember that before we got to that point, what had happened to me spiritually was that I started to feel a discomfort in my spirit. It wasn't something I could explain and give tangible reasons why it was like that. But I had a discomfort in my spirit, and this discomfort and this tug, and I don't know what other word I should use, but all of this unrest in my spirit were pointing to the fact that there was more in my life that I needed to do. At this point, I was a young wife. It wasn't like I could see beyond my nose. We had no financial resources to push most of the things that, we were even doing to survive, let alone for a dream. But there was something inside of me that wouldn't let me. I remember that in 1999 into 2000, I'll wake up and cry and cry and cry and cry. And I remember my husband would be like, what is the matter? And I couldn't put to words what I was feeling, but it looked like, now that I understand it with benefit of hindsight, it looked like I was in a spiritual labor. There was something inside of me that was roaring and was pushing to come out. And that discomfort, it was my first spiritual surround. Now, because it was so discomforting for me, I had to begin to ask questions. Not of man, but of God. So to explain to you what your spiritual surround should look like, I need you to understand your spiritual surround will take off from the depth of your relationship with God. If your relationship with God is not as deep as it ought to be, then your spiritual surround will be porous at best, if it even exists at all. So from that point, when you have a strong enough relationship with God, what happens is He speaks to you. The first word that God ever spoke to me concerning where I will go and the things I will do, as I think about it today, is very funny, was the word Eve. That was the first word He spoke to me. What that meant was I had to go and look for what the word Eve meant. And in my research, I found out that the meaning of the word Eve that resonated with my spirit was Lifespring. So I actually started ministry on the platform called Lifespring, because what God was saying to me at that point was that from me, life will spring forth to other people. And that was where I started from. And like they say, the rest is history. Maybe one day, if I have the liberty in my spirit to do an autobiography, not in the next maybe 20 years, but maybe one day, maybe I'll be able to document all of these things. But the first word that activated my search for God to the extent that I now know what I'm doing was the word Eve. And like I said, the translation was Lifespring for me. And that meant that life had to be springing forth for me, which meant that it ordered the way I related with people. It ordered the things I said with my mouth. It ordered a whole lot of things. So simply put, your spiritual surround is determined by your relationship with God and is activated by a word. What is your relationship with God like? And what word is He speaking to you? I want to quickly move to a physical surround, but to talk to you about a physical surround, I'd like to share with you a story. In 2000, I started the ministry Lifespring. I was teaching, convening fellowships or small group meetings in my home every fortnight. And like I said last week, it was the teachings from those fellowships that we put together to begin to do Vectra, which we started in 2003. Now, from 2003 to 2008, I was working from home. No, I did not have a home office. My flat was too small to be able to do that. Even when we moved homes, I still didn't have a home office. I couldn't afford a desk and a laptop and all of those things. So I worked from my kitchen table to my bedroom, to my bed, to my couch in the living room, to the business center. So that was my physical surrounding, living my dream. Everything I did was spread across this place. Most of my writing was done on my bed in longhand, lying down or bent over my kitchen table. And that was how I started. I'll do those writings in longhand, and I'll take them to a business center where, they would now help me type and design and do all the other things that needed to be done. And I continued like this from 2003 to 2008 in that surround. But in 2008, I fell ill, really ill I think it was in the month of June. So ill that I thought I would die. At the end of that experience, I came out and I was thinking to myself, if I had died with that experience, I would have died with so much that the Lord had put inside of me. I would not have delivered on even 1/10 of my destiny if I had died at that point. So I decided that I needed structure. I needed some discipline and some routine if I was going to produce more. And that was how I started to look for office space. I couldn't afford an office space. Let me quickly confess that now. But I had a friend and her husband who ran a business. Actually, this is a good time to say thank you to Wole and Lara Audrey because they were the first people to give me that physical surround of an office. I approached them to say, this is my dream and I would like for them, because they had a business complex. And I was asking them to give me somewhere to come to daily so that I could put my thoughts on paper and continue to push my dream, because I wanted to increase my productivity. And what happened was they gave me a place in their office. It was a small room, but you could take a desk and a table and a fan. And I had space to plug my computer and to work. And that moved me from working from my kitchen to my bedroom into a work environment. I moved into a corporate environment, and that meant that I had to be at work at 8 a.m. as everybody, and I'll close at 5. That began to put in me the structure and the discipline of knowing that when you come to work, you set goals, you have a to-do list, and you follow through on them. I needed that surround, not because I wanted to prove anything, but I needed it because for myself, I knew that I had a bit of personal discipline issues. I was not very disciplined, and being at home and trying to work from home meant to me 9 times out of 10 that I couldn't meet up with my deadlines early enough. So I needed to shift my physical surround to that place. But there was something else I did. When I moved in, I said to them, I would like to just stay in their place for 6 months, which was from July 2008 to December of 2008, after which I was trusting God to be able to get my own place. And as they say, the rest is history. I moved from there at the beginning of 2009, and we have since moved office even one more time since then. So you need a physical surround. Your physical surround is an environment that helps you to set the structure that you need and to apply the disciplines that you need so that you can nurture your dream and produce more. From there, I want to quickly move to your relational surround, and I'll start to talk to you about the relational surround when I come back.
Introducing Dukia Radio, a new online purpose and leadership talk radio for the family. Follow us on Twitter at Dukia Radio and like our Facebook page, Dukia Radio. Dukia Radio, giving life full expression. Coming soon.
Welcome back. Relational surround, what does that mean? Relational surround is taken from the word, of course, relationship, and it speaks to the kind of people you surround yourself with that will help you nurture your dream and make sure that you produce more and you actualize the things that God has called you to. So again, back to Effectual Magazine. In 2008, we had transition from black and white and sport color magazines to full color magazine. But I'll never forget that first edition of full color magazine in 2008 came out so terrible. It came out so terrible that my perfectionist streak made it impossible for me to distribute that magazine. Now, if you appreciate the fact that we didn't have a lot of money, and here we have spent so much and the magazine came out terrible, I had 2 choices. My first choice was to just collapse the magazine and never do it again. And my other choice was to look for someone who knew how to do it at the level of the picture that I see in my mind. And that transitioned me into a relational surround. I had to go look for some lady who had been working on a magazine and was doing a good job at it. And she was gracious enough to grant me a meeting one fateful Wednesday morning. And 2 hours later, she had given me the technology and she had given me names and contacts, telephone numbers and email addresses for the people who produce her own magazine. And by the virtue of that one relationship, I was able to transition Effectual Magazine onto the level that I had always prayed and hoped that we'll be able to transition it to. So you see that I started from a spiritual surround, a word, a relationship and a word. Then I moved to an environment that afforded me the opportunity of structure and discipline. And from there I've moved into a relational surround, people who can help me translate the picture that I see into reality. So started the journey with Vectra, and before I knew what was happening, we were producing as regularly as we could afford, and the rest, again, they say, is history. So it talks about relational surround, and that helped me. So we started to produce Vectra at a point, but I also remember that I took advantage of relational surround when it came to the launch of the first edition at that level. That particular edition, we themed it The Pursuit of a Dream, and it just captured our story from how we started and how far we had gone. And I remember that for the launch of that magazine, or the official release of that magazine, I had to move way beyond my neighborhood in Lagos where we lived. We got, a venue somewhere classy, somewhere really nice, because I was trying to transition in my mind so that this magazine was meant for a particular kind of woman. So I had to take that official release somewhere that people who were serious-minded, who were upwardly mobile go to. Not because I was trying to prove anything, but because I was trying to show myself the picture of where it was that we were headed, even though we started from another neighborhood, less affluent and less known in the Lagos area. So we had this event at that location, and of course, immediately our guest list became better. The people who attended the release of that magazine were people who could bring intellectual value to what we were trying to achieve. And before you knew what was happening, the magazine was further enhanced, because at that release that day, we found people who made commitments to take 10 copies each, 5 copies each, every edition, 30 copies every edition. Someone was taking 50 copies every edition to distribute to their network, and they were paying us for that. So just by transitioning our surround physically into a relational setting, a setting where the kind of people we were looking for, or we were catering to, or our target audience operated in, the work that we were doing amplified and our value increased. Which brings me to the last kind of surround, and maybe the most kind of surround after spiritual surround, and that's the mental surround. What does your mind tell you about your dream? Does your mind say to you that you are able to do it? Because it doesn't matter what the picture you see. If your mental capacity or your mind says to you that it is impossible, I can assure you that it doesn't matter what spiritual surround you have. It doesn't matter what physical surround you have. It doesn't matter what your relation surround looks like. You will not be able to do it. So even though every time I had to step out of my house to go to other neighborhoods where in my mind the women were more affluent, more well-read, was an intimidation for me. I had to constantly have a conversation with myself mentally to convince myself that what we were doing was worth taking to these neighborhoods. And that was how one day I sauntered into a business clinic where I met my sister and my accountability partner, Audrey. So because I transitioned mentally, it also helped me to move into another environment. And at this event, we came out of that hall together after the event, and we exchanged cards. And that started a relationship of over 1 year or 18 months. We never saw each other again, but we had a relationship. And every time an edition of the magazine would be released, I would send her a copy. And before we knew what was happening, one day we had a meeting, and the first thing she did was she subscribed for 40 people in her circle of influence. And by making that subscription, before we knew what was happening, another sister came in the scene. Audrey subscribed for Inife Atobiloye, Ini Onok, and I think Neka Wobi. And before we knew what was happening, all of us became friends, and that elevated what I'm doing again, because sister power was formed by that transaction. But more than that is also the fact that at this point of this relational transitioning in my mind into a relational surround, they started to talk to me about the need for a website. And because they made it easy, I started to look to building a website. And by the time I had a website and we could upload things and we could, leave, I started to blog, we could leave stuff there, for people all around the world to see. When I needed to make another Relational Surround transition to the United States with Coach Anna McCoy, just what I gained from my Relational Surround with Audrey and the other ladies was what helped me. The information, the learning from that relationship made me own a website. And in owning a viable website, when I sent that first email to Coach Anna McCoy, all I said to her was some 9 lines introducing myself, and then I could put the URL of the websites that, both my personal blog site and the magazine website, to say to her, this is what I do, you can go and check it out. And again, as they say, the rest is history, because that relationship with Coach Anna amplified other things that I did aside from the magazine. With her, the magazine went on a website or an online store for magazines known as MagCloud. So it increased the capacity or the number of people who started to read the magazine even outside of Nigeria. But more importantly, that relationship expanded and enlarged me and started to add value to even my events. So because of this transition from a spiritual surround to a mental surround to a physical surround to a relational surround and back and forth like that, every time, everything that I was doing was getting better by the day, And we are still in the process of tapping into these surrounds anytime we need to expand. So for instance, Dukia Radio, we're already having programming lined up just because of surround, the people we relate with, the people we know. So you cannot truly move a dream and move it to the place that you need it to go except you have the right surround. When I come back, I'll be sharing with you what these surrounds, spiritual, physical, relational, and mental, have in common, so that you know what to look out for when you're trying to deploy the law of surround. I'll be right back.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insight and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883. Or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back. We're still talking about the law of surround. And before I stopped, I told to you that the law of surround is lived or deployed at 4 different levels: spiritual surround, physical surround, relational surround, and mental surround. And I said that even when you have the spiritual, the physical, and the relational, if you don't have a strong mental surround, you may not be able to deliver on your dream. Now, on this segment, I want to talk to you about 4 or 5 things that you look out for in each of these surround. Every surround that you have, whether spiritual, whether physical, whether mental, whether relational, would be somewhere where you can go to celebrate and vent. That's the first thing for me. Because sometimes you win, and when there are people you tell and they think you are boasting. They say to you, you are prideful and all of that. So for instance, every time I record a win, I'm not afraid to just go on the WhatsApp group that I run with my sisters and just put it there and say, sisters, look at what I have just won. And they're usually quick to come back to say, congratulations, you're doing really well, well done, and all of that. So that celebration, every one of us needs to be able to celebrate. So I may not be able to celebrate on social media because I don't want to catch heat or beef or something like that. I still find the space to be able to celebrate. The same goes when I need to vent. When something is not working properly and I have put so much effort in it and it still seems like it's defying everything that I have to give, I will quickly go to this group again and vent. And usually they are willing to listen. If typing is too much for me, I leave a voice note. And we all do that. And so it helps us to keep going, detoxifying, and celebrating so that we can keep our dreams in focus. So every surround that you want that will help you nurture your dream is a place that is safe for you to be able to celebrate and vent. The second thing that surrounds must have, if you would be able to deploy them properly, is that your surrounds must inspire you to growth. They must inspire you to growth. There must be atmospheres or environments that inspire you to growth. So when I talked about transitioning from my kitchen table to my friend's business complex to begin to work on a Vectra, one of the things that, I learned there was how to become technologically compliant. It was an IT firm, so there was no struggle I had with IT that I couldn't just reach out to them. And they always came through for me. So they inspired me to grow, to want to learn more about technology, to want to learn how to use my computer, to learn how to deploy the internet to the advantage of my dream. So every surround must inspire you to growth. It must have the capacity to stretch you so that you look up and you grow. The third point is that every surround must understand your why and have the capacity to feed it. Every surround must understand your why and have the capacity to feed it. What does this mean? It means that every surround, whether spiritual, whether physical, whether relational, whether mental, must feed the thing that is in your DNA. So for instance, when I talked about my spiritual surround, that the first words that I received was Eve, and I translated it to Lifespring. It became that thing that, up to tomorrow is my why. Is my why. It has evolved over time. The words have changed, but it still fits my why, because what is it that I do? When I say I help people discover purpose and live powerful lives, what am I saying? I'm saying that everyone that I come in contact with will experience an enhanced life just by relating with me. So life is springing forth for me. So every surround must be able to understand your why and feed it. When I got into relational surround, the ladies and the gentlemen that I dealt with knew my why. They understood it. So every time they came to me to encourage me, to push me, they always came to me from my why. So every surround must do what? Understand your why and have the capacity to feed it. The fourth point is that every surround should be somewhere you can find answers to your questions. So spiritually, when I'm confused, even today, I go back to God. And I can tell you that He's never failed to come forth with an answer. When I need financial advice, in my relational surround, I know who to go to, and she will be able to deploy what needs to be done and tell me what it is that they believe that I should do. When it comes to deploying technology to enhance what I'm doing, I go to my surround, Coach Anna, and she always knows what to do technologically to move me forward. So every surround should be somewhere you can find the right answers. So spiritually, I go to God. Relationally, I go to my girlfriends. When it comes to my physical environment now, if you come into my office, for instance, and you look up my ceiling has splash of orange paint. I did it deliberately because I'm a creative person. Orange for me exudes creativity and energy. And I deliberately make sure that the ceiling in my own office is splashed with orange paint so that my environment is comfortable enough for me to continue to create, because that's what I do. So your environment or your surround must be somewhere where you can find answers to your questions. The fifth point is that your surround must be where your next level is modeled, especially when it comes to relational surround. Yes, I have people around me who look up to me, but I definitely have people that I look up to. Because if you want to be a success at anything, the easiest way to go is to see someone who is already successful. So no, all these people that I'm surrounded with don't do the exact kind of business that I do. They're not pushing the exact kind of dream that I'm pushing. But they are useful. Just by seeing how they transact on a daily basis helps me to see that success is possible. So you must have a surround where your next level is modeled to you. You see what is possible just by looking at them. Now, these 5 points that I have shared with you, somewhere where you can celebrate or vent, an environment that inspires you to growth, an environment that understands your why and fits it, an environment where you find answers to your questions, and an environment where your next level is modeled, is critical when you are deploying the law of surround. The question I would like to ask you is, what are you surrounding yourself with? Sometimes we catch on a dream and we say we want to work with it. But because we don't have the right surround, we find out that rather than getting built up, we're getting broken down. Ultimately, we give up. If you will learn to deploy the law of surround, I can assure you that your dream will be better enhanced and will push you to the place that you could not even imagine that you will get to. Before I close, let me remind you again to take advantage of Purpose University when the details begin to come out, and to go on your Google Play Store and download the app for Dukia Radio. Once the station goes live, we will send you notifications so that you can begin to follow us. Today we looked at the law of surround. Don't forget to surround yourself with the things that make you happy ultimately, because fulfillment takes off from being happy, the right state of mind. Till next week when I'll come your way again, this is Bidemi Mark-Mordi, and all I want to leave you with is that when you discover purpose, you will live a powerful life. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 0813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com. Don't forget that when you discover your purpose, you will live powerful.